Hey friends, Peggy Hall back with you from thehealthyamerican.org. Just a reminder, my new broadcast times are 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. And I have been covering this Bobby the Bamboozler for some time. And I have had lots of new subscribers to my Substack because these are individuals that can read between the lies. And someone sent me a link to another Substack that I want to share with you. It's called A Mask Off Moment. I don't know this writer, but I promised you that I was going to share with you two approaches that he takes when he is trying to deal with some, as he calls it, low IQ barbarian that yells all the time. Maybe he says you think he's the low IQ barbarian that yells all the time and does things without thinking. Well, as a person in the public eye, such as myself, I take a lot of slings and arrows, and I want to share with you his two approaches, one of educating people and one of humiliating people. I have never really been after anyone. I am after the truth, but I thought it was so interesting. And I'm going to skip down here where he talks about, I'll just read it to you. And then I'm going to share with you some actual comments from people that read my Substack. And I'm going to use his approach to just share these publicly. And maybe you'll be as astounded as I am. So he says, when dealing with an ignorant person, I'll first try to kindly educate them. If they are truly open-minded and intelligent, they will be respectful, listen, and eventually be awakened. Now, I want to give my own little commentary. I do strive to do that. I know that I do reach a high level of snark from time to time because it is absolutely mind-boggling that this many years into the hogwash that people still cannot think clearly and they want to put their trust in a human savior by the name of Trump or Kennedy. And I'm speaking specifically about Kennedy. And either he is lying to you, or he is lying to the senators, or he is lying to the parents. And all y'all, not you, my sophisticated, healthy Americans that are probably as sick as I am, focusing on this reprehensible creature. But I just wanted to finish out my commentary based on this man's approach of educating people, which is what I strive to do. And then he takes it a little farther. So he says, I don't have time to debunk every lie that people believe. I will, after some civil back and forth, plant the seeds by leaving them links to more facts, and then exit the conversation without notice, knowing that many of my followers will engage the person on my behalf, as you, my lovely, sophisticated, discerning, healthy Americans do. And then that creates social proof, meaning others also can read between the lies. So this social proof, and he links to an experiment here, he says is so powerful, it could get them to change their mind, even if we were lying. Luckily for them, we aren't lying, and we are trying to wake them up. By leaving the conversation abruptly and without explanation, as I do, no longer addressing any further points, the person, if truly seeking the facts, will, due to their curiosity, further investigate the matter on their own, especially if any of my followers urge them to do so. Now, I want to show you an example of that. So on my Instagram page, I have several memes or images here that are direct Kennedy quotes, along with here, when you click on that little reel, you'll see that those are clips of him speaking in front of the Senate. And for those who have said, Peggy, there you go, twisting his words again. Well, why don't you listen to the entire 3+ hours of his Senate testimony like I did? I listened to it twice. I listened to it live, and then I listened to the replay on double speed, and I went back and listened to it again to make sure that I would have all of the important points. So I gave some commentary in my points here, and the comments were getting so abusive that I actually thought, you know what? I'm not going to let the comments be there because I don't want to poison other people with more lies and more justification. So this is one of the approaches that this Substacker, who is Lucas Gage. Let me know if you read his Substack. I'm not subscribed, but a healthy American sent this to me. So that's the educate mode. That is what I strive to do. That is my default. I am a teacher. I love to explain. I love to read between the lies and help people improve their critical thinking skills. And so many of my lovely healthy Americans have applauded that and have told me, Peggy, you have helped me learn how to ask questions and to not fall for the hogwash. Now, this is something I have not done, but this is what Lucas, his other approach. And I want to know your perspective and what you think about his humiliate mode. If engaging with an ignorant person who is being irrational, who refuses to accept the facts and then disrespects me, he says, I switch to humiliate mode. Since I don't have the time or patience to deal with such a person, nor do I let anyone disrespect me, I take this opportunity to make an example of them. He says, I will humiliate them in front of everyone and then block them. Yes, it is mean. And yes, I do not like it, but it is necessary. Now, I was shocked when I read that because I have never sought to humiliate anyone like he is describing, but listen to his reason. He says, such a person is already gone, and no amount of information will wake them up. Thus, for our purposes, it's better to make an example of them than to try to convert them. So as painful as it is to lose another one to enemy propaganda, and actually, I agree with him that it is painful to see people fall for the hogwash. That is why I don't give up. I am extremely persistent and optimistic, and I don't give in, give up, or give over the truth. I do not lie to suit an agenda, which many people were applauding Bobby the Bamboozler for doing. Yes, that's his new nickname. So he says, it's painful to lose another one to enemy propaganda. And I agree with him there. But then he says, rest assured that humiliating and removing them is for the greater good. The greater good is then being made an example of for others. What do you think about that? I don't like the phrase greater good. Actually, I don't believe in that. I don't believe in the common good. But this approach of making an example. So let's see what he means about that. And I'm not advocating this. I want to know what you think about this. And it's quite bold of him to state that this is what he does. He says, because these individuals are like an irrational animal, they will better respond to the beating they will receive by me and others for being ignorant and disrespectful. The emotions associated with this beating will instill into them a powerful fear of being ostracized by others in future interactions about the same subject. It will make them think twice about how they engage with our side again, especially while we continue to crush the enemy narrative and grow in numbers. Now, I do want to talk about this concept here, this powerful fear of being ostracized. I believe that many that are still going along and defending the indefensible lying going on by Bobby the Bamboozler, they don't want to be ostracized. They probably have donated to his $15 million children's health. $15 million is what the Children's Health Defense brings in and more. They probably have been a monthly donor. They may have gone to his conferences and heard him speak. They may have shared videos and made comments on there, supportive comments, and they don't want to be ostracized by the others that are following Bobby, the Bamboozler. Now, here is the objection. But Lucas, wouldn't humiliating someone only cause them to further double down on their beliefs in order to save face? Yes, it would, he writes. And this is due to powerful psychological defense mechanisms. Friends, the reason I'm reading this to you is I'm about to share with you mind-boggling comments that I got. I mean, I'm almost speechless with how people are actually attacking me rather than attacking Bobby the Bamboozler for lying and putting children in harm's way, because you know that he is recommending to parents that they follow that complete CDC schedule. No children are going to be harmed in that. No one has that on their conscience. They think he's just playing 3D chess that the rest of us are not clever enough to understand. So he says these are powerful psychological defense mechanisms, the writer Lucas Gage of this Substack. Because of those mechanisms, it may take years for them to wake up. And if they ever do, and we don't have time to wait for them, thus it is far better to eliminate these types from our circles. Listen to what he says, before they can infect and weaken others with their lies. Then hope that they will overcome their defense mechanisms and join us anytime soon. By controlling the frame, right, meaning the setting, the atmosphere, and setting our standards high by punishing, bad behavior and eliminating ignorant, stupid, spurgy, I've never heard that word. Let me know if you have, socially awkward and emotionally unstable people. We not only strengthen our message and our ranks, but also help establish new social norms, which is how we will actually win the so-called culture war. He goes on to say many intelligent people fail to understand. Well, he's talking about manipulation. I'm not in favor of that, but I will leave this Substack for you. The point that I wanted to make is how people's comments can infect the others. And many of these are individuals are never going to wake up. Oh my gosh, going on 40 messages. This is in response to my Substack called A Wolf in Sheep's Clothing. And I gave testimony from RFK, from Bobby the Bamboozler, who here states unequivocally, without hemming or hawing, he specifically states, I support the CDC schedule and I recommend that parents follow the schedule. As I stated, he's either lying or telling the truth. Either way, it's bad. And I'm sure he would never deceive you about anything else. Just ask his wives. Somebody said, Peggy, what do you mean ask his wives? Well, I thought it was common knowledge that because he has admitted that he has cheated on all of his wives. And one of them, we are told, committed suicide. So apparently she, because he was cheating on her with his current wife that you can see right here, wife. Yes. So here we go. We are going to look at some of these comments here of people that have lost their rocker. All right. Ed says, Peggy, if not RFK, who? Where you see lying, I see nuance. I see. Harming children and enriching pharmaceutical companies by increasing the cocktail uptake is nuance. Well, Ed, I'm glad you still love me. He doesn't want to get the perfect to get in the way of the good. So my question for Ed and others is, how many children are you comfortable with being harmed? That's just a simple question, because he publicly stated what he wants parents to do. And this other question about Peggy, if not RFK Jr., who? You're telling me no one else is qualified? I will ask that of you, Ed, and of the others. Lynn says, thank you, Peggy. It sends chills. So she is a person of discernment. Lorraine says, thanks, Peggy. I absolutely hear you loud and clear. I have many of the same concerns. I'm not sure this is a great strategy on his part. Friends, I did a video for you yesterday where he was interviewed saying the most important thing is to stop lying to the American people, to regain their trust, to stop with the deception. So which is it? Kathy says, I know. I can't believe how he caved. It's like he's speaking out of both sides of his mouth. Mr. Malibu, I've actually had on the show before, and we've been having some discussions back and forth, and I will applaud Mr. Malibu because he is able to have a rational discussion and go back and forth with evidence and positions and perspectives, and I applaud that. He says it is not an excuse for him to lie, but he is an attorney, and that's exactly what they do. I welcome intelligent conversations with evidence to back up your position. So let's see. AJ appears, he says, Kennedy appears to be tiptoeing around the word vaccine. Well, I'm not seeing him tiptoe. I'm seeing him tell the senators that he wants an increase in vaccine uptake and that he is going to restore confidence in order to increase. And then here, Tony says he is playing the game. Tony, children are going to be harmed in this game he's playing. Maybe you didn't think that through. All right. John, thank you, John, says you make a lot of good points. There's no way I trust RFK. And Patricia says, I could not be more wrong. You could not be more wrong. You and the majority who are asleep. I don't know. That's kind of strange. I'm wrong and he's right. Okay. Yeah, strange. Okay. John says, I share your discomfort. Some of his answers are as cringy as the shrill Dems questions. I can't make excuses, though. I'm Maha. John, you have just given us a shining example of someone who is able to read between the lies, to still stand by your own convictions, to honestly state that you share this discomfort. I applaud that. Richard says, as always, thanks for the discernment. These people believe in the global earth. I think I know what he means. What is really coming to the revelation of Jesus Christ. Please may he come soon. Have you, with all due respect, have you read any of his books? Have you followed any of his advocacy work? Well, Jenna, with all due respect, have you watched any of my 34 videos that I have done about Kennedy and all of his work? Then she says he clearly knows that the cocktails are unsafe. Then why did he lie? Why is he telling parents to get their kids, their children, the 80 plus shots? This doesn't make sense. She says it is not a lie. Okay. Friends, this does not make any sense to me whatsoever. He's playing it the only way that has any odds of success. Where is your evidence of that, Jenna? She says playing does not equate lying. How do you square that, Jenna, with his video interview where he said we have to stop the deception? We have to stop lying. So how can you trust him when he is lying to you? Jenna probably, I'm just going to go out on a limb and say that she has sent him money. She's followed him, read all his books, paid for his books. So she's experiencing what's called cognitive dissonance. He could be jabbing a screaming infant on the floor of the Senate with 80 of those cocktails. And Jenna, from what I'm reading, the conclusion I am going to draw is she would say he's just playing it. He's just playing it the only way he knows how. He has to demonstrate to the parents that these are safe and necessary and effective. It's very careful and strategic messaging. I see. John knows the score. He says, Bobby the Bamboozler, he's referring to him, just like any other politician. Denise says, those of us in the know with the ability to think and research wouldn't. I still believe he's playing their game. My question that no one will ever answer, and I pose the question in my Substack, whatever we choose to focus on and seek, we will find. No, there is objective truth and reality. The truth is that he told parents to follow that schedule. So which is it, Denise? Which is it? So she has not answered my question. How many children will be harmed by his policies? How many millions of dollars richer will the pharma companies be by this increase in the cocktail uptake? All right. Okay. John says, this is not who RFK is. I'm unsubscribing. So that's where this other Substacker said, yeah, let him go. Let John go. All I can do is pray for John. He doesn't want the life preserver. He has jumped overboard. He is drowning. I'm trying to throw out the life preserver with the actual words from Bobby the Bamboozler. He did not even take the time to defend him. He just said, this isn't who he is. I'm hearing him with the words out of his own mouth. And Peggy, you are wrong and he is right. And I am attacking you instead of attacking the man who is harming children and enriching pharma. It's just, you can't make this up. So I'm sharing it with you. Here's another one. Heather, I can't express enough to you how wrong about RFK Jr. you are. Oh, which part was I wrong about, Heather? The part where he wants to increase the cocktail uptake? Or the part where he wants to roll out the avian flu cocktails? Or the part that he says Operation Warp Speed was a great success? Or was I wrong about the part where he said that vaccines have saved millions of lives? Was that where I was wrong? I'm trying to figure it out because you just wrote he wants transparency and full disclosure. Where did he state that in his testimony? He did not. He is lying to you, Heather. And I believe that's true. I believe he is telling the truth to the senators, actually, because I've been exposing him for years. Yes. So Heather says, stop the silliness. He is authentic and he actually has integrity by lying. He has integrity by lying. He has put everything on the line for health freedom except the truth. Well, I added that part. So there you go, friends. A perfect example of what Lucas Gage said. These individuals are beyond our reach. Heather has been bamboozled by Bobby the Bamboozler. There's no hope for her. I very politely wrote her back and said, Heather, which of these statements do you agree with? And I listed all of his statements. I said, just give me a yes or a no. And she couldn't even reply. So that's transparency and authenticity and integrity for you. So yeah, Heather, that conversation's done. I'm letting you go. And here, really, my comment to most people was this: you're not bothered by the millions of moms who will get their kids the cocktail because Bobby the Bamboozler just told them to do so. No one's bothered by that but me. Gee, my level of empathy and discernment and compassion must be high above all of most of these people that are writing back. Now, I like here, let's see, maybe not. Let's see what JC has to say. Thank you for your willingness to express the truth, Peggy, even when it's unpleasant. I've been a follower, I don't like that term, of children's health defense for a long time. I was originally encouraged by Kennedy's presidential campaign and nomination to head the HHS. You see, friends, this was exactly the plan all along. Get people to follow Bobby the Bamboozler, to trust him, the Kennedy name, even though I was pointing out his statements about being fiercely pro-cocktail all this time. John, or JC, I say, has the intellectual integrity and the emotional maturity to say, I am simply disappointed. He goes on to say, it's clear that he cannot get confirmed without catering to the ninnies. I don't have evidence for that. I don't buy that line. I would have liked someone who would have stood up. They could have trotted out several other nominees to speak the truth, to answer these questions truthfully, to get that information into the Senate testimony. Don't you understand? This has created a record. It is on the record what Bobby the Bamboozler has said. They could have had a dozen or more individuals come out, sharing the facts, sharing the truth, saving lives in the meantime, having it all being entered into the record. And then they could have brought Bobby out at the very last to say, I agree with what everyone else has said prior to this, and you need to get up to speed on the truth of the matter, and I will be seeking truth in everything I do. That's what he should have said for all y'all that are still making and defending the indefenseless. He's indefensible. All right. Okay, here we go. Mr. Malibu has the moral integrity to say, yes, that would bother me tremendously. I was not aware he said that. Are we talking about the YMCA? That's what I'm going to call it. You know, the YMCA song, that mRNA really follows along with it really well. mRNA, da, 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 M. Anyway, Mr. Malibu, I love being able to have an intelligent conversation with someone who is willing to dig deeper. All right. I love this from Linda. I wonder how I unsign all the petitions I sent to our representatives saying to support him. This makes me very angry. Linda, your comment encourages me to no end. Jean says, I'm sure Bobby the Bamboozler has flaws. I put that in there. But he has so much right about him, more than anyone I've seen in the healthcare area. He has my vote, and I'm praying he gets in. Jean, are you going to pray for the children that are going to be harmed with his parents following those recommendations? Just asking. You never answered me, Jean, when I asked you if you supported those statements. Well, Dan says, you can't please everyone. RFK is doing the best he can. Yeah, he is, Dan. You're absolutely right. He's doing the best he can to get people like you to trust the government and the science so that when they roll out the squawk, squawk new cocktail for all the birdies are going to line up and get it because here's another one. A different Dan. Lots of Dans, lots of Johns. Dan said, oh, please, Peggy, get real, get a life. Enough of the apoplectic nonsense. You sound like the unhinged demoniacs with their weeping and gnashing of teeth. If you've bothered to follow what he's done to Big Pharma with CHD, you would know he is on the side of healthy Americans and will do what he can. You know, Dan, you're deluded and brainwashed. And you know what? You're wrong. And you will have the blood on your hands, Dan, for supporting someone like this. You are culpable for supporting someone who is publicly recommending actions for parents that are going to harm children. How do you like them apples, Dan? And by the way, I don't like Kennedy usurping my Healthy American. I was the original Healthy American. And now he created an organization called Make Americans Healthy Again. I never talked about making Americans healthy. You can't make someone healthy. And I certainly don't want the government making me healthy. Is that unhinged enough for you, Dan? Am I apoplectic enough for you, Dan? Yeah, when it comes to saving lives, I get a little rabid, if you know what I mean. And I use that word purposely. And then Dan gives us another perfect example of a false dichotomy where there's only one or the other. Oh, yes, it's either Rachel Levine or it's RFK. Oh, certainly there's no one else ever in the entire universe that could be qualified to take that job. Dan fell for it, hook, line, and sinker. Okay, Dr. Hesu. I'm not familiar with him. I think the first time he's written to me. Lying to a bunch of ignoramuses in order to get into a position to change the world is a hard dilemma, but time will tell. And I hope you're big enough to admit you're wrong when he starts exposing the cocktails for the junk that they are. Well, Dr. Hesu, I hope that you're big enough to admit that children, countless children, are going to be harmed in the meantime because parents that were waffling and not quite sure what they were going to do in order to get their children into school, they now are going to take them down to the pediatrician until they have gotten 80 of those jabs. How do you like them apples? All right, Emily speaks the truth. So sad, breaks my heart. So much wasted potential. I didn't see the wasted potential. That I don't agree with. Lance, we've had some great conversations in the past. He says, I can't think of a better person for the job. Well, if Lance can't think of one, then obviously there isn't one. Yes, here's someone knows the score. Oh dear, we are in trouble. Mary says, I so agree with you, Peggy, about RFK Jr., Bobby the Bamboozler. My answer to some people right here, my prayers are with the countless children whose lives are now at stake, because Bobby the Bamboozler is repeatedly and publicly encouraging parents to follow those policies. Truly heinous and reprehensible and indefensible. Or will you defend that? People are still trying to defend that. Grammy knows the score. Grammy says, I agree with what you are saying. He also came out with a video supporting Is It Real? And stated that our government should always keep them as an ally. That was enough, even though Is It Real was attacking you know who. That's when I started to wonder about him. And there is no doubt I have to be sensitive here for the algorithm. Terry says, Peggy, first of all, I think you're great, but Kennedy is the best alternative we have. Where is your evidence for that, Terry? Why are people following that talking point? You're saying no one is better than that? No one who says they are against all of the cocktails will get confirmed. No one. How do you know that, Terry? You're buying the baloney. You're buying the hogwash. She says, bear in mind, after you throw this baby out with the bathwater, well, that is perfect because lots of babies are going to be thrown out with the bathwater, Terry, following his recommendations. And Grammy says, I think you are amazing. I do enjoy watching the videos and keeping up with what you are into and your opinions. My comments to those, I'll just finish off with this. There are only a couple of, I don't even know how many more, but let me read this one. I said, Terry, would you have your children follow the RFK recommendations? Aren't you concerned about all the children that will be harmed because of this? There were so many other better answers he could have said. He's not the only one for the job. Why not have a dozen, 100 candidates that speak the truth? The Senate will have to confirm at some point. Why not abolish the HHS? That's what I would like to do. RFK's lies or truths will harm countless innocent children, and there is zero way that I am okay with that. Are you in favor of that? So I think we did most of it here. And again, Cheryl says, I've lost all respect for you. Horrible post. Now, did you notice that Cheryl did not answer any of my questions? And I said, I didn't see your answers to my questions. All right. Do you agree with harming children? Yes or no? No. She just says it's a horrible post. He has just publicly told parents to follow the schedule, 80 plus shots. Do you support that? Yes or no? And then finally, who is he lying to? The Senate, the parents, or his followers? I'm sure you won't answer. And they've never answered. And Suzanne also said, you've got them all wrong, Peggy. Move on. Okay. I guess I should just move on. Friends, if you want to see the truth, I actually have so much here for you on my Instagram. Actually, I have it for you here on my YouTube channel as well. You can watch my long form videos if you just want the little snippets. Here it is. I want you to share this information. Those of you that have actually sent money to the Children's Vaccine Defense because he wants to promote, he doesn't want to protect children. He wants to do this and protect the cocktails. Your dollars went to that $15 million organization. And just they need to change their logo. And of course, they have a globe in their hands because they're responsible for the entire world, flat though it may be. All right, I'll leave on that topic, friends, just to spice it up a little bit. Thank you for being on board. Of course, you can see all of my videos here, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. Fridays, I will have more uplifting commentary and content for you to help you keep your head above the waves in these stormy seas of life. Thank you so much for being a person of reason, of discernment, of intelligence, and someone who can read between the lies. See you soon, everybody.